I'm Danielle Hartman. Welcome back to another episode of Poured in PA, a series sharing the stories of Pennsylvania's craft beer industry. In this episode, we bring to you a collection of stories of people getting their starts in the brewing industry. To kick things off, we head to Pittsburgh's Bloomfield neighborhood and visit Trace Brewing. Their innovative vocational program is giving hands-on experience to the next generation of brewers.
I'm Dave Kushner. I'm 6'4".
Dave is 6'4" in real life. You can honestly tell just by looking at me. Like if I raise my hand and he raises his hand, there's a difference. No, keep it up. Keep it up there. Keep it up there. There's a huge difference.
We came up with the idea for Trace late in 2018. We stumbled upon this building here in Bloomfield. It used to be an old brass and bronze foundry. We took a lot of inspiration from the building itself, that there's traces of all the old uses in this building. When it was brass and bronze foundry, they did photography development here, they did paint production here. It used to be an underground punk music venue. So when you come in here, you'll see traces of all those uses. We do a little bit of everything. Our brewers are skilled doing anything from like a clean Pilsner lager, Saison, New England IPAs, traditional IPAs. We have two 10-barrel foeders. We got room for 32 barrels up on our rack, and we also have a 15-barrel cool ship. So you'll have an entire range, anything from that's clean to hoppy to wild here. We've been brewing for almost 10 years now, and we've seen the industry come up and change a lot. Styles have changed, locations have changed, types of breweries have changed. But the one thing that hasn't changed is diversity in the brewing industry. And so really early on in Trace's development, we sat down and talked about what we could do to help foster that change in the industry. And we came up with the Trace Brewing vocational program. And like any vocational program, the purpose of it is to give the participant the skills and knowledge they need to go out and start a career in that trade. And so the goal being is we are focusing on folks who have not had the opportunity to get their foot in the door, whether it's POC, folks in the LGBTQ plus community, women. And so we reached out to those communities and said, you are welcome here, and you're encouraged to apply to this program. It's 6 months, it's paid. There's a curriculum involved in it to give them the knowledge, and the skill set comes from the hands-on here on the brew floor with our head brewer, Zach.
With the knees. When you're training people with no experience, you always start with safety, and then it continues through good process. You need to highlight the right way to do things and the wrong way to do things so that people know what to avoid. There are big mistakes that you can make, but there's a lot more small mistakes that you can make that you run into more frequently. So for me, it's a lot of Dev shadowing me and him asking questions, and then making sure that he understands that he should always be double and triple checking everything. I mean, it's just good practice, and I try to lead by example. And then we have a small library of books that have more theoretical and scientific knowledge that he can dive into to accent the work that we're doing in person. It all comes together with time.
I've been learning proper cleaning, the seriousness of the chemicals and what they can do to you. I have that, I don't want to say down pat, but I have a good sense of that. So there may be a time where I need to clean a couple bright tanks, and I'll go through that and I'll just say, hey, can you just make sure that I'm doing this the right way? And Zach will come in and say, yeah, no, you're good. and also getting into some dry hopping on some IPAs and some beer. So it's been even doing some barrel work too. So I call it Donkey Kong, but you know.
Dev's our first vocational brewer. We had 110 applicants, so it was incredibly difficult to choose. We did 30 Zoom interviews, we did 10 in-person interviews, and so it'll be really exciting to see where the program goes and how many more applicants we're going to get. It's clear that people want to be brewers, not just in Pittsburgh, we're around the United States, and it's a great job, and so we're just here to support their dreams.
It humbles me very much to know that there are that many people in and around the city of Pittsburgh who want to learn, the brewing industry. So that part made me really, really proud that there was 110 people, and the fact that I was the first out of that 110 makes me feel personally really, 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 really well. This is essentially my dream. Like, this is being here. It's honestly like waking up from a dream, going to a dream.
It's been a dream for so long, and watching that dream come to fruition, you never know how that's going to turn out. And I think it's exactly how we wanted it, both in our outreach, in the response. Like, we didn't know if we were going to get 10 applicants. Like, in getting 110 applicants, it's encouraging to see that folks of diverse background, whether that be race or gender or sex or socioeconomic, are interested in joining this industry. So, first and foremost, just from that perspective, the program has been a success, that we know that folks want to be part of the brewing world. Seeing how Dev has taken to teaching just so quickly is also very encouraging. It means that not only is Dev incredibly smart and talented at what he does, but it means that we have found a good back and forth of imparting that knowledge, imparting that skill set that then he can carry with him for the rest of his career. So I think every vocational brewer is going to be a little bit different. Everything's going to be tailored for that brewer, and the program is going to change and grow, but I think it's been going great.
For me, it's been going absolutely fantastic. Like I said, it is a dream. It's a dream that I've had for 10 plus years, and to finally be living it, I couldn't ask for much more.
I think the thing that really motivated us is that we have a very unique skill set and knowledge, and we all love to teach here, and to impart those skill sets and knowledge to someone who really wants to learn is exciting, who wants to learn about beer, talk about beer, and then be part of this industry is awesome. And the thing that I think excites me the most about it is, going to a brewery festival in 3, 4, 5 years and seeing more diversity in that room, and like popping up our tent at Trace, and then being next to Dev here when he owns his brewery, and to say that that not just Trace, but the city of Pittsburgh can affect that kind of change, and maybe in 5 years people will look at Pittsburgh as the model for that. Any brewer that reaches out that says, hey, I'm interested in doing a program like this, we share the curriculum, we talk to them about how to go about implementing it, and we hope to see brewers from all over the country doing these programs in any capacity that they can. But I think everyone, again, is doing their part. You see Garrett Oliver at Brooklyn starting a scholarship for folks who want to go to brewing schools. Like, that's something that's what they're able to do to help diversify. And so it's something where it's like, you don't have to have, there's not one formula to affect change. I think everyone just needs to look inward and sit down as a team and say, what can we do with the resources we have? Not everyone can start a vocational brewing program. Perhaps not everyone can start a scholarship, but everyone can at least start the conversation.
On the other side is make your breweries more comfortable for Black people, for people of color, for for all walks of life. That's why seeing that there are so many different backgrounds here, both front and back, it makes it comfortable for anyone to come in. So make spaces more comfortable.
Deb has since graduated the Trace vocational program, and we have no doubt that we will see great things from him down the road. Nina Santiago is the new vocational brewer and is well underway with the program. Up next, we meet Caleb Peachy of Robin Hood Brewing Company in Bellfonte, PA. Caleb talks to us about his path to becoming a head brewer.
Well, actually, I went to college to be a police officer. That didn't sound great after I got done with school, so I was like, you know what? I really like beer. I used to be in a band. I would tour. I would stop at breweries in every city, and I think that's kind of where the craft beer took off for me. The atmosphere for a brewery is what brings people in, and a good beer, obviously. Yeah, so Robin Hood Brewing Company is located in Bellfonte, Pennsylvania. We also have a sister location in State College, Pennsylvania. So if you're in State College for football games or sports, we have a location there. It's called Home D Pizzeria. We're very experimental here, but we also have a beer for every kind of drinker. We have lagers, wheat beers, IPAs, porters, stouts. So if you're just in the area, we have everything for everybody. So I got into brewing. I was at a distributor in State College. I worked there selling beer. One of my co-workers was he had a homebrew kit, and he invited me over to his house, and we actually brewed beer on the stove. And ever since then, it just took off. Started brewing on like 5-gallon batches, 10-gallon batches. I probably homebrewed for maybe a year, and then there was a hiring post for Robin Hood Brewing Company. I figured I like beer. I've been working at beer distributors for a while. I wanted to step it up and see if I could actually do the brewing thing. And I just went from home brewing to assistant brewer over a year, I guess. So the head brewer here at the time was Chris Schell. He actually started a brewery up in Albany, New York. He left here. He was the head brewer here for, I think, 5 years before I took over. And he showed me the ropes. He taught me everything that I know today. Kegging was the first thing, probably. Learning how to fill kegs, make sure they're pressurized properly. Cleaning tanks was another big thing. Pretty much a lot of cleaning, but I mean, it comes with the job because it's mainly a janitor job, but glorified. It was a little difficult, but like you take everything you learn from home brewing and you apply it the best you can. I took a lot of notes. I had a notepad with me. I took notes on my phone. It took me about maybe a year before I was actually brewing on the system full time. So if you work your way up, you can get there. Yeah, so it's just me. I do everything here by myself. So I usually come in at like 10 or 11 because I like to sleep in. And then I'll grab my grain for the day, throw it up on the brew deck, I'll mash in. And then once I mash in, I'll clean my tank for the day so it's ready to go whenever I'm knocking out. And then I'll start brewing. I mean, I'll water over into the kettle, boil it, transfer it to the whirlpool. My tank's good to go. I knock out. I'm probably done by like 5 or 6 o'clock. I'm very experimental here. I brew things that you probably wouldn't see a lot of places. I just made a sour IPA with orange puree and vanilla soft serve ice cream. A lot of times I don't know how things are going to turn out, but 100% of the time they're pretty much good. I try to find ingredients that a lot of brewers aren't using, and I try to apply them and see what happens. Sometimes ingredients don't work out the way you want them to, but then you find a way to adjust it to bring it to the public, and generally they like it, so it's not all that bad. Right now I say the fruited sours are definitely skyrocketing right now, and the hazy IPAs. People love the fruited sours because it doesn't taste much like beer, it just tastes like a smoothie. And like the hazy IPA trend is just, it's blown up the past 2 years and people can't get enough of it. I can't brew enough of them. Yeah, so advice I have for homebrewers, I mean, you start somewhere. I started brewing on the stove. Like, that's crazy to me. If you think you're making good beer and you think you're doing the right thing, if you find someone that will let you in and maybe they can show you around, you can volunteer, you can definitely get into it. But yeah, if you come up with ideas, people want to work with you. If you have some out-of-the-box idea, people were like, you know what, screw it. Let's just try and see what happens. At the end of the day, having a beer at the bar, knowing like you produced this like a week or two ago and it turned out the way you wanted it to. That's the nice thing about being a craft brewery, and that's why it's nice being small. Continue to tweak things and make it how you want it.
Now we make a stop in the capital city and visit Zeroday Brewing. Hannah Ison has a unique story of not only becoming a brewer, but also what it's like to brew while becoming a mother.
I moved to Harrisburg back in 2015. My degree is in political science, and so I was working on different campaigns and just kind of bouncing around the country for those first couple years out of college. And then I landed a job with an environmental nonprofit that was located here in Midtown. I really thought that it was just gonna be like another town that I was kind of passing through, but I fell in love with the area, and even though I wasn't like in love with the job per se that I was doing, like I still ended up sticking around, and my office was right across the street from Zeroday. So Zeroday had just opened. It was this new brewery in this new to me neighborhoods, and I quickly became a regular, and I was able to really meet all of my new friends, whether it was people that worked here or, you know, other neighbors, customers who frequented the space, like just kind of became like a family, and I felt like I had a place, you know, that I belonged. The owners of Zeroday decided to start opening an extra day of the week, and they were looking for part-time help for that. So they kind of posted as, you know, would I be interested in a part-time bartending job? And yeah, I immediately jumped on that. I was like, I would love to, you know, spend an evening here and get paid for it. I started out as a part-time bartender, working one night a week while I was still doing my full-time day job. And then those hours just kind of began growing. Like I was working 3 and 4 nights a week, and really kind of seeing like my priorities shift towards this company, and really like asking a lot of questions and being really like curious about the growth and opportunities. And I didn't see a lot of opportunities for advancement where I was, and so I was looking for something else. I was interviewing for lots of different jobs, and then I happened to let the owners of Zeroday know that, and they are like, you know, we have a need for another brewer, and is that something you'd be interested in, you know, changing careers and learning how to do this? I did like a 6-month in-house training program, and by the end of that 6 months, I went from, you know, never making a batch of beer to brewing on my own, and then started to get more involved in recipe design, and really just kind of grew from there. Learning a job like brewing is definitely intimidating at first. I mean, there's so many moving parts, and I think I had a lot of self-confidence issues at first too, with like my ability to learn something that was more mechanical and not just straight out of a book. Was always how I had learned everything before, was, you know, I was a really good student, but I have some like continuing education opportunities within the industry too. I took an MBAA short course in brewing sciences, which was a wonderful opportunity and really helped that geeky student part of me be happy, able to connect like what I'm doing in the brew house and in the cellar with like more of the science behind it. There were definitely physical challenges learning how to brew. I mean, like I'm standing now in front of our upgraded brew house, but this is not the system that I learned how to brew on. It was very manual and definitely required strength and muscles that I had not already developed yet. And so just learning how to like use those muscles and train those muscles was challenging. Recipe design, I think, is one of the most complicated things to explain to someone else, and it really wasn't just per se like taught to me. Like My boss was never like, oh, these things go together, so this would make a good recipe. An advantage to people who come into this professionally after home brewing is that they have the ability to experiment with lots of individual ingredients on such a small scale. I was starting out, my small batches were 230 gallons, and so I didn't have as much of an opportunity to just experiment with the raw ingredients. So I kind of had to get more of a overview of like how ingredients interact with each other by studying beers that we brew or beers that other people brew, talking with other brewers and seeing what gives that beer that character and why. The way that we approach recipe design here and the way that is easiest for me to talk to other brewers and collaborate with is more of like a backwards engineering approach. So not like, does this ingredient work with this, but more like, what do we want the overall experience to be? What is the end goal? And then work backwards. Like, what do we think would help achieve that? In April of 2019, I found out that I was pregnant, and it was not planned. It was not part of the scope of that year. And I was really scared with my job. I mean, I had been brewing at that point for like 2.5 years. I felt like I was on a really good path, and I didn't know what that would mean. Pregnancy is definitely changes physical parts of your body, and this is a very physically demanding job. So I went to the internet at first, brewers who had babies, and then there are just so many things out there that are good resources, but I literally could not find one single person who had ever become pregnant while brewing and then continued brewing. So there wasn't really any advice online about what to do, but I did come to my boss and let him know what was going on, and is this something that can, what would it look like? And he was like, well, what does your doctor say? And that was just kind of the approach we took, was listening to the doctor's recommendations the whole time. And just what I learned was that anything that you've been doing when you're before you become pregnant, you can continue doing throughout your entire pregnancy until your body says you can't. So if you are running marathons, keep training for marathons. If you don't run at all, don't start training for a marathon after you find out you're pregnant. But with me, with the brewing and the lifting of the grain and, even moving kegs around, I've had in my head, there's this lifting requirement and I'm not going to be able to do my job from day one, but that wasn't it at all. As long as everything's healthy, just listen to your body. And so that's what I did. I trained somebody to be able to take over the brewing when I needed them to. And I was brewing up until into the 3rd trimester. I mean, it was probably, I think the last time I brewed, I was 7.5 months pregnant. So I transitioned more into a planning type role. That's when I started taking over the production planning duties. And we, listened to the doctor about the amount of time for recovery after birth. I was given a 6-week paid maternity leave, which was amazing because I didn't have to interrupt my paycheck right after having a baby. That's not something that's federally required at all. There's no paid family leave in this country, but Zeroday saw a need for that and the importance in that. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it was just a lot, there wasn't a plan. We looked online, there's not really published family leave policies for small breweries, or even federal recommendations for businesses under 50 employees. So there's really not a lot of guidance there, but we just kind of did what seemed like the right thing to do. And I'm really fortunate. I had a very smooth, healthy, happy pregnancy, and my day-to-day jobs did change. Yes, my tasks changed, but it didn't disrupt my career. An unplanned pregnancy in a very physically demanding production role didn't disrupt my career at all. And I'm really grateful for that. I think there are a lot of people who might not have that same experience, and And it is scary, especially when you don't like know if anyone else has done it, but it can be done, and you know, it has been done. And if anyone ever has questions or wants to reach out to see, like, hear more details about like our experience, we're open and would love to talk about it. So. Being a mom is the most amazing challenge I have ever had in my entire life. And it's an amazing experience. Like, you look at this person that you made and just try to figure out how to be the best version of you that you can be for them, you know? She comes in here, I'm trying to teach her how to open valves and undo tri-clamps. My kid, like, anytime we give her a new toy, like, she flips it over and like tries to take it apart, and like she takes batteries out and like puts them in. Like, she is so much more, her brain works completely differently than mine. So I think she would actually probably be a way better brewer than I would, but I'll probably get her washing kegs first when she's allowed safely. So my advice for anybody trying to get into brewing, just be very open-minded. I mean, there are so many different challenges in this industry that you never would have even considered, but there are also so many wonderful opportunities, and I see my future being here right now. Zeroday wants to be a place where they are creating careers and being a part of people's lives. And I think that even when a situation might be a little trickier to handle, they want to figure it out so that people of the team are still part of the team, you know? Like, major life changes don't have to change your career. And if you're trying to be a place where you're building careers, not just jobs, then sometimes there are going to be difficult things like that come up. I know it was definitely a financial burden to pay me a salary when I wasn't in the building for 6 weeks, but they made it work. And because of that, I'm still here. Now I'm the production manager at Zeroday. We just recently opened our new tap room. We're drastically increasing our production capacity. We installed a bigger brew house. We have bigger fermenters and more bigger fermenters on the way. So a lot more beer is being made. I'm working on hiring more people to be part of our team so that I'm not brewing as much of all of that beer. So my focus right now is on physically producing beer, managing people, managing the production schedule, like forecasting what needs to be made, making sure that all those ingredients are sourced, maintaining relationships with different vendors. It's a lot, it's fun. But then I'm also hosting a show called Cheers PA, where we go to different beer trails around the state and try to encourage people to visit different parts of the Commonwealth with beer as kind of the pull-in, but then also like highlighting other cool things to do in the area. When I graduated college, I did not think that I would be making beer for a living, but yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way.
We change pace slightly for our next story. We stay in Harrisburg and visit the Dauphin County Brewfest. Beer festivals are back this year, and that has made beer makers and drinkers very happy.
So this is the Dauphin County Brewfest. It's been going on for 9 years here at beautiful Fort Hunter Park. We are so thankful to the Dauphin County Commissioners who really support the beer economy here in the state.
Here at the Dauphin County Brewfest, supports local, recreation and park service here in Harrisburg. As a Dauphin County resident, happy to be here.
Last year in 2020, we weren't able to have Dauphin County Brewfest, and we're just excited to be here. We have 23 brewing companies here today, and then we have 2 craft beer clubs that come and sampled their beers.
We're a local brew club here in the central PA area, and a lot of the members have ties to some of the local breweries. We have a lot of fun. We meet every couple of weeks and do tastings, and we all share in the passion.
We sell about 1,000 tickets to the event overall, so we have 500 in the first session, 500 in the second session. And we really try to keep the event manageable. We don't want 2,000 people all crammed in together. We want to be able to allow craft beer companies to really talk to our guests about their beers and really make it a more intimate festival.
For us being a small brewery, getting out, being able to tell our story, getting to share our beers. When you're on a 2-barrel system, we're not producing that much beer, so it's getting out, talking about it, getting the craft beer people to try our beers. So it's really good. I mean, all the smiling faces.
Man, it's so great to see so many smiling faces out here. I'll tell you, everybody's enjoying themselves, and one of our favorite times of the year is to come out for the beer fest here.
Well, it just feels like we're coming out of this very long, cold winter. It's been a year and a half since we were able to really do anything. So this is one of the first, big beer fests that are around this year, and we're so pleased that number one that we were able to be here, but also really looking forward to seeing the response of some of the things we're doing here, and looking forward to getting around, seeing some of my colleagues I haven't seen for a long time.
Oh, we've been telling that to everybody. I've been talking to the brewers here. I've been seeing brewers that I haven't seen like in a year and a half because we haven't been going anywhere. So it's freaking awesome to be here. It's like everybody's out, everybody's having fun. It's a gorgeous day and everybody's drinking beer.
First time here, and my fiance is selling the beautiful koozies over there.
That's my mom right there.
So what do you think of the festival?
It's so refreshing to be around people again, and what a great way to drink alcohol around people. That's insane.
I think we all need something like this.
You guys having a good time?
Yeah, we're having a great time.
Beer's really good.
We have Winding Path Brewing Company, which launched a month and a half before our first lockdown. So Irina Wise is our head brewer. I love to be able to represent her as a female brewery rep. It's just really cool to be able to have a female who's making some really good liquid and then being able to present that out to the buyer and my stores. Wilsbach just took us over in January, so we have officially launched in the Harrisburg area. So just getting people to try what we have, it's exciting. I'm glad that things are happening again. It's just nice to be out and have this many people out trying our beers. So.
Best beer you had? The Hibiscus Winding Path, the Hibiscus IPA, in my opinion.
It's good.
There's the Cotton Candy Seltzer from...
there was a Cotton Candy Seltzer.
Cotton Candy Seltzer was up there. From the Lindgren.
Seltzers are very much in the beginning of where craft beer, I think, was 20 years ago, and they're really easy drinking. As we get out having them on Beer Fest, everybody really enjoys them. We have a cotton candy one on tap today. We've been talking about doing a cheesecake one, and I think you're going to see that micro industry sort of evolve where right now everything is 5%, not sweet, it's very standard, but it's going to start evolving where you're going to get that 7%, maybe add a little lactose or something to it. So start doing those really fun seltzers, but it's great on a day like today.
I actually got into brewing because I worked for Visit PA and the tourism for Pennsylvania, and I was actually doing closed captioning on the Port and PA series for our YouTube channel, and we try to make everything as accessible as possible. And one of the brewers, I believe it was Lavery Brewing, was mentioning that a book had changed his life. And I'm just the kind of guy, when a book changes somebody's life, I feel like I have to read that book. And that was last August, and I've already brewed 30 batches, so I could say that book has actually changed my life. The Complete Joy of Homebrewing by Charlie Papazian.
Man, that's a good question. What do I love about craft beer? I think, the individuality, I suppose, but then there's the community. It brings people together, you chat with people, you meet new people, all ages, all creeds and types these days too. It's, you kind of could be yourself in this very welcoming community.
I haven't seen this many people together in a long time, and to have beer that always brings people together, you can't go wrong.
Thanks for joining us. Stick around for one more. Our Brewery Spotlight takes us close to the Ohio border to Crooked Tongue Brewing in Edinburg, Pennsylvania. Here, you can enjoy a beer or a mead while playing a round of stones. Until next time, cheers.
Hi, Mom. Hey, everybody out there in Facebook land. How's everyone doing today? Hey, we're going to go over our local 4-pack of craft beers. We're doing the Shiver and Shake. Pretty smooth drinking beer, real nice mouthfeel. It's good beer. Real good beer. I'm at work too, technically. Well, we got started in my parents' garage. Always liked craft beer. Decided I wanted to give it a shot. Started making it, and then ended up building a garage at home. Soon kind of got out of hand. I had 14 beers on tap there. Brewed almost every weekend, and one day decided, I said, man, I ought to see if other people want to drink this stuff. So when we decided to go, I guess, pro, tried to find a location. This location was central to my house, my parents, lots of friends, on a major highway, and the price was right, obviously. And we gutted the whole thing, remodeled it, and opened up, and it was met with, open arms immediately. So new beers kind of working on. Actually, a lot of the beers we've been doing are just the old beers we used to do. We did a Wietermelon, that'll be coming out soon. We've got another hazy IPA about ready to be canned. As far as the tap list goes, we just try to keep a diverse selection, stay with what's selling the best. IPAs are always one of the best sellers. Sours are becoming a pretty good seller. You probably have like 5 staple beers that are always on. Sweet Side is a 9% double IPA. Not your typical beer. It's got honey malt in it, kind of balances out the alcohol and the hops. Whoppy Jammer is like a kind of smaller version of that. It's, I guess, our flagship IPA. Crooked Ways, hazy IPA is normally always on. Whiteout Stout, it's a blonde stout. Use local coffee roasters for the coffee in it. Black Stout, it's also normally on. I like to brew just about everything. Just try new things out. Things I've never done before, new ingredients, new styles, new techniques. 2 years ago, we got our winery license and we were into meads. We put a sparkling mead on tap, plus a bottled mead. The sparkling mead's been selling really well. And then we started some seltzers. Those have been going really well. Not everybody loves craft beer, Most people like alcohol, though. My favorite beer is the next one. Mead is a honey-based wine where the majority of the fermentable sugar is from honey. You can also use fruit. You can do it with grain, herbs, spices. I got into it never was really a wine drinker. And then I had mead once. I was like, wow, that's really good. So I just kind of started buying it all the time. And I was like, well, I think I'm going to give it a shot. It's less labor intensive than making beer, but it's time consuming in the sense that, you make it and it sits for 6 months to years, before it's ready to serve. So you have to hold on to it for a while. But it has the same creativity level as beer. You get to try different ingredients and different alcohol levels. It's pretty cool. The honey we get from Badillion Honey Farm. They're also in Pennsylvania. I believe he has 500 hives along the river. Not all of it is his honey. He does broker honey also, but a lot of it is local honey. I'll have to start on the mead next. We got a lot of mead ready. So we have like 700 gallons of mead now. So next year we'll have a lot of really, really good mead. What's on the menu for this week? We do have the smoked special is back. You can get it family platter. Feeds roughly 4. I guess it depends on how hungry you are. As far as the food goes, every 2 weeks the menu changes. We do everything from steaks to deep fried pickles. We primarily focus on like craft burgers. They're all custom by Chef Mike. Not Your Grandma's Peaches and Cream Burger is probably the best-selling burger. It's a burger with cream cheese and peaches. Pretty elaborate menu, I think, for a brew pub. Outside, we have a stones course. It is basically like bocce through the woods. Leagues will be coming up soon. I got 5 fire pits, lots of outdoor space. People come all day, sometimes people bring blankets and kind of picnic style. It's a pretty good time. The name came from it's a long story. The name Crooked Tongue came from my sister, Casey, who one night we were drinking on a bar crawl, and she said, "You ought to name a beer Crooked Tongue." And I said, "Man, I'm going to name my brewery Crooked Tongue." And my mind was going, different tastes and unique flavors. And a couple weeks later, she was like, I was talking about, I got the name because my dog runs around with its tongue hanging out all crooked. I must have missed that. I don't remember. But the name was cool anyway.
What's the future hold? Any future plans? Or?
I don't know yet. Enjoy it while it lasts.